Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. When I arranged this, I thought it might have been a six-pointer. It's not. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Manchester United correspondent, Gary Robinson. Hey, Gary.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. And our Ipswich Town correspondent, Paul Gaught-Allen. How are you, Paul?
Hi James, yeah, I'm good. Hi Gary, hi everyone.
Good man. Gary, I'm kind of confused where to even start with you. I want to kind of leave the football for a bit because at the time of recording, lots of news today about where we're not letting the staff have lunch in the canteens anymore and what is going on at
Mm,
United, mate.
I don't know. I mean, I think at first glance it just seems like quite petty, penny pinching, doesn't it? And it can't be good for morale. It can't be good for anyone there. Now they might say that it's going to save a load of money and all that kind of stuff, but there's no way that the money it's saving is going to have a much of a drop in the impact on either the day-to-day cash flow at the club or help us with any of the other things that we're struggling against. I mean, I think the only thing that you can say for them is that whatever decision Radcliffe and team have made is only because of the mess that the Glazers have left. And I think I think it'd be very easy to blame Radcliffe, and he probably deserves some of the blame for some of the things he's done. But they must have looked at some set of figures and decided that it's a worthwhile exercise. I can't believe it is, but if that's where they've come to, it's only because of all that money that the Glazers have previously taken out of the club. Best part of 2 billion quid they've had out of it now in various uh, dividends and shares and the interest rates that we've paid on the debt. So yeah, I can't really work it out. Maybe it'll come out in the next few days, weeks, and it'll be explained better. But I can't really see the point of it.
They put a statement out on the official website as well,
Mm,
saying that there's going to be more redundancies.
yeah.
It's estimated that maybe the club might save around about £1 million, which I don't know what's that equivalent to what, 4 weeks rate wages for Bruno Fernandes or something, is it?
Well, yeah, something like that. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it is that. I mean, I don't want to. I feel bad comparing it to what it would get a player because it's not the player's fault
No, of
either.
course it's not. Of course it's not.
But
He
yeah,
only used Bruno as a star player. To
no,
be honest, I
I
had
get.
Casemiro in my head and I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, no, I get that, but most of them players are normal people who are lucky enough to be on good contracts, and all of them, I think all of them there have tried at Man United. I think some of them are awful, some of them are inconsistent, but none of them have not tried. So that's it. It's going to that money is going to get compared to what it'll buy you as a player or all that. When what the focus should be on is, if the Glazers haven't cost that club 2 billion quid over the last 20 years, whatever it's been now, we wouldn't be in this mess. Forget how bad they've been on the pitch and all stuff like that. That's the cause of it. But so that's but whether Radcliffe thinks that saving 1 million quid's worth it, I don't think it is.
When did the takeover go through now? What we sort of 16 months or so, I think I would say.
We must be nearly 18 months. Yeah.
And the positivity of fan sentiment towards Ratcliffe and Ineos has gone down the drain already, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think that was always coming. I think uh, certainly from my point of view, the only positives they had was that they weren't a state-owned bid. Um, they completely burnt any goodwill that they would have had, and some of that's not their fault because they've not. If Radcliffe Ineos had been able to come in and spend away and help in that sense, but because of PSR and because of the money we've burnt and wasted on some of the players, they've not been able to. It's not like they could come in and make a splash with some decent signings. The chance that they did have last summer, they wasted that because they tied themselves to Ten Hag, um, the Dan Ashworth saga. So this is it. Some of it's not their fault, but the decisions that have been of their own doing, they've also got wrong as well. So and it's going to be a long way back now as well because it's going to be this summer we won't spend anything unless we miraculously win the Europa League and sell Rashford for some decent money or whatever. So yeah, be a long while before they get the chance to redeem themselves as well.
I tell you, it reminds me of a little bit. And you can tell me if this is out of turn, but I feel similarities to when Alan Sugar took over at Tottenham. The idea that you've got a successful businessman who's worked very well in the business world, but maybe it's just not right for football. It feels a bit
No,
like that to me.
I think that's right. Yeah, and I mean, it's difficult now because of the money that's in football, but it just shows we've come so far away from these places being run as football clubs now. And the idea that whatever money you generate, you put back into the club and try and buy a good player or a good stadium or a good burger van or whatever, or a canteen for the staff. All of that's gone now. It seems to be run as if, like you say, it's a genuine business that's there to try and make money. When really, football clubs shouldn't be there to try and make money. They should be there to try and, have a better football club, shouldn't they? Even if that's the same whether it's your under 10s, one where you put a few money behind the bar and you can might buy a load of new footballs, or whether it's the biggest club in the world and try and buy centre forward. And we're so far away from that now. And let's close the staff canteen down so we can save £1 million whilst all the other nonsense goes on around it. But yeah, I think the Sugar ones are good because he struggled with the same, didn't he? He couldn't get his head around paying money for players and the way he ran it. And I mean, I can't really remember. Did he win a trophy when Sugar was there? Was he after the '91 Cup win? And so
He
maybe
would
a
have been
League Cup,
chairman when we
maybe
won the. He would have been chairman when we won the League Cup in '99.
the '99. Yeah. So, but again, it wasn't a massive return for the money that he put
No,
in.
we
And
were so ordinary. I mean, we really were like
yeah,
a mid-table, upper bottom
yeah,
half kind of
yeah,
table
yeah,
side, really.
yeah. No, it's yeah, it has got vibes of that, hasn't it?
That's not to suggest that's exactly what's going to happen here with Manchester United. It's just
No,
it's the
no.
idea of seems to be so orientated towards and the principal idea of focusing the football club to be profitable is a good thing
Mm,
considering what it's gone through. You highlight the Glazers. They have taken over £1 billion out of that football club now since they first bought it. Money that
yeah.
could have been used on transfers,
Mm,
and a lot of what you have spent has obviously been spent badly
yeah,
over
yeah,
the last,
yeah.
certainly at least over the last decade or so since Sir Alex Ferguson moved on. Paul, how do you view United as a neutral, someone who's just joined the league this year, and probably for a lot of your adult life seen them as like the biggest club in the country, and they still are basically. How do you view them as a football club off the pitch at the moment?
Well, I think they're a classic example of a club or business or organization where the leaders are leading badly, and so the whole thing filters down. You know, we saw it ourselves with Marcus Evans. When he was owner, he wasn't really that interested. He didn't really know about football. And that filters down to, the people in the ticket office and all this kind of stuff. You don't get the same verve as you get with, our chief executive at the moment. And I think we have that at Manchester United right now. I think, you know, whether it's the Glazers not being overly interested or Ineos, running it in a very strange way in terms of, some of the staff, I think there's a problem there that emanates right from the top. So yeah, I think right now I don't see them getting out of this vicious cycle without a bit of luck, maybe a Europa League win or, a bit of luck appointing the right manager.
Because there's a lot to take out of that. All right, just in kind of a one word, which you can then expand on, Gary. What are you more frustrated with at the moment? Events off the pitch or events on it?
Off the pitch.
So, despite where you are in the league at the moment, it's unacceptable you're 15th in the league. You're still more frustrated with what's happening off the pitch than on it at the moment.
Yeah, because everything that's happening on the pitch is a result of whatever's gone wrong last summer, the summer before, and however long you want to go back, really. Um, and I think, as daft as it sounds, whilst he's still still cup competitions, it's kind of like we're getting into March next week. We're still in two cups. The season's on. Now that's been 2 weeks when we've been bombed out of both of them. Then at that point, that's when you start thinking, oh, hang on. But at the minute, I think as odd as some of Amorim's decisions have been, I think he needs a pre-season. And I think we just need to get to the summer and try and do what we can to that squad and give him a pre-season and see if he can coach his way out of this mess. Because we've seen teams coach their way to successful season. I'm not saying we're going to be anywhere close to the top four next season, probably, but we there is the possibility there to coach our way there with a pre-season and a bit of luck and maybe a couple of signings if we can get it right. So I'm not too concerned yet, but like I say, that's with the massive caveat that you've got them two cup competitions still to go at.
Head up. Paul, how you feeling about the Tractor Boys at the moment, mate? 18th now, 5 points adrift of Wolves.
Yeah, we're not quite in great escape territory, but we're probably one rung below that on the ladder. I think I've been surprised not by the jump to the Premier League as such, but the line where the biggest gap between the teams was used to be between like the big four, five, six, however they were at the time, and everybody else. But now it seems like the biggest gap is actually between 16th or 17th and the bottom three or four. Is I've seen teams who before the season I was thinking, well, we need to target that game. We need to be good against Palace and Everton at home, especially. And they are a lot better than us. And we go into those kind of games almost, like with a puncher's chance to get, in a heavyweight boxing fight. It's like I feel like one of those, you know, big guys who just came in to get beaten by Lennox Lewis, but once in a while they just hit him with a big punch because they were big guys, kind of thing. It feels like that in a lot of the
You're
games.
punching as well as you can. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're doing all we can. Don't get me wrong. I'm certainly not down on the club in terms of, you
There's no
know,
reason you should be, mate.
yeah, in terms of the organisation, in terms of the management, in terms of the recruitment. Nobody gets recruitment perfectly right, but I don't. I just think the gap is so large, mainly because I guess everybody else, bar the three promoted teams, has been there what 3 years now, and the two other promoted teams have been there most of the last decade. Barring one season. So yeah, they've all built up their squads over those years, and we had to do it on the fly last summer and a little bit in January, and it's a big gap for us. And who knows, of the three at the bottom, I think we've got the best chance, but it's a pretty low chance.
I agree with you, by the way. I said as much on Monday's podcast. Gary, is that how you'd see it if any of them bottom three could escape? Is it Ipswich?
Yeah, I think so because they look like the only one that's still just about in touch. Because of the matches we have seen them win, it looks like we've seen teams do it before where they finally string 3 or 4 together in a row. To be fair, I think Southampton look a decent team now, but I think their manager bounce and that reorganisation's come a little bit too late for them because they're even further behind, aren't they? But yeah, I think of the three, Ipswich are the ones who could do it, but just not scoring the goals, are they? I think that's probably the surprise as a neutral is when we saw Ipswich come up, it looked like they're quite an attacking team, but the goals haven't come after. I think all promoted teams concede goals, don't they? It's if you can have that run of scoring goals. But having said that, there can't have been many teams that have gone back to back promotions into the Premier League. I can't think
No.
last time it happened really. So what chance have you got? And I think we're seeing now, aren't we, how difficult it is because looks like this for 2 years in a row where the promoted teams have all gone
It,
back down again.
I mean, you referenced Paul about obviously Southampton and Leicester had kind of been established Premier League teams before they obviously came down. It's one very difficult thing to come into the league when you've been out of it for as long as you have, but to have actually done that back to back from League One to Championship to Premier League. And then actually, it's not like you've come up. I don't want to say you've been handcuffed because there was a few others. I think like Luton last year were like handcuffed in terms of what they could do, and Sheffield United, despite being a club that had been in and around the Premier League, were very much handcuffed as well. I think you've spent quite a bit, but I also think you've spent in terms of future proofing for the worst case scenario. it feels like as well. And the other major benefit I think you've got over Southampton, Leicester at the moment as well is you look at the King Power Friday night and how St Mary's is emptying Saturday. The fan sentiment, I was at your place on Saturday. The crowd is fully in support of what the team are trying to do. There's no kind of animosity or resentment at the moment. The fans are with the team.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. This club, although I'm going to contradict myself in a funny sort of way here, but even if we're going down this season, and hopefully not, but it's still a club on the up. 2 years ago, pretty much the day we were playing Milton Keynes Dons. Now we're playing Manchester United. You know, this is a team that's on the up. If we did get relegated, we'd be one of the 3, 4 teams that people would have, that would be expected to come back up. We have strengthened compared to that team that got promoted. So yeah, we are we are in a far better place. I think we're in a better place than those two. I think our coaching is better. I think our unity on and off the pitch is better. But they still have probably better players than us, those two teams.
Yeah, that might be fair, mate. Do you almost feel like having experienced 6 months in the league now? Does it almost feel a little bit like the best thing to do is to set up to be ready to come back under the worst case scenario, rather than just trying to equip yourselves as an immediate Premier League side? Because I think what I would say is, obviously, if the worst happens, you look like you'd be ready equipped to go and challenge again.
Yeah, I think part of that is necessity because for us financially, it was very difficult to get players in with, let's say, 100 plus Premier League games. We're going to struggle to do that. And if we do, we're going to be spending quite a lot on a 31-year-old, quite a lot for us on a 31-year-old or something like that. So, our experience came from Calvin Phillips, Ben Johnson, and a few guys with relegation experience, to be honest, like Dar O'Shea and Murek. So, yeah, we had to go about it another way. We, we kind of cherry picked our way through the championship. And even then, we didn't pick necessarily the 3 or 4 best players because they go to, Somerville from Leeds went to West Ham for 35 million or so. We can't afford 35 million. And he's in and out their team, on the edge of their team. If we spend 20 million on a player, he's got to play. He's got to play all the games. So there's a big difference in the ability that we've got to spend money, even if we wanted to bring someone in, like I say, with over 100 Premier League appearances, it may not be possible with the wages we're willing to spend and the
I,
fees
I,
we're willing to
I
spend.
guess the outlier there is Calvin Phillips, isn't it?
Yeah, and for a lot of the season, that's been one of the recruitment disappointments. But over the last few games, maybe month or so, he's really got himself into it, and then he goes off injured
Injured.
on Saturday. And we don't know what the situation there is. He apparently he's had a scan today, tomorrow, so he might be all right to play on Wednesday, but I don't think so, judging by the way he went off.
No, and it's similar story for Jens Kajust as well. Also having a scan. It's a player I really like. I mean, the first thing he did in the game on Saturday was pirouette and turn and carry you forward. For there's a player there.
Oh yeah, he's a good player. His biggest problem is he can't get much beyond about 60 minutes. If you look at his season, he gets taken off around 60 to 70 minutes. I think he's played one full 90, which was Brentford away when I think he was the only central midfielder we had. We had to, you know, big bore and steal and put people in wrong positions that day.
He
But
actually played 90 minutes when you won at White Hart Lane, mate.
oh, did he?
He did you.
Oh, I don't remember that. Anyway, but
I didn't just
yes,
get you on just to give you grief. I thought I'd give you something.
But yeah, he's very good. If football matches were an hour, he'd be a World 11 player. He says, semi joking, but he's very good. But he can't last much beyond that hour.
So solutions for Old Trafford if they're out, is it just Taylor and Morsey, is it?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, we're not. they're the two next in line. Luongo would presumably be on the bench. I don't see us playing any silly formations that mean that those two aren't the two.
Despite United's problems, is that equipped enough to get something at Old Trafford?
Yeah.
Gary's nodding for the benefit of the audience. Gary's like, yeah, anyone.
um, well, the honest answer is the 11 best players on that pitch, 11 best individuals, will all be wearing red tops. And
I don't know.
so,
Have you seen United's forwards? You might have the best
well,
I'm
forward
going to
between
say,
the two teams.
maybe
I'd say Delap.
10, maybe 10 and 1, maybe 10 and 1. I'll give you that. But what we've got is those intangibles that I talked about, comparing against Leicester and Southampton in terms of our unity, our organisation. We know our structures, we know our moves, we know what we're doing broadly, and that's our strength in a game like this. And maybe having two guys who've been doing that for, well, in Morsley's case, 3 years, and in Jack Taylor's case, a year and a half, isn't that bad a thing. But yeah, what worries me more is a little bit the strength off the bench there as well. And Morsley's mobility is less than it was a year ago.
Okay. We'll come back onto a bit more of the tactical and some of the United assets. But Gary, I must get your opinion on Amorim.
Hmm.
Are you still very much, I mean, you kind of alluded to it, back him in the summer. So I presume you're not in the stage of sack the manager. But the fact that he's got less points than Ten Hag is pretty damning, isn't it? This season, I mean.
Yeah, he appears to have decided that the leagues are experimenting and trying to shape what he's trying to do, and just worrying about winning the cup games, which I can kind of understand to some degree, but it's going to wear very thin that. And like I say, those two cup games we've got aren't gimmies. I'd probably say we're
No.
just like favourites to win both of them, but
Yep.
I won't be shocked if we get hand out of both of them. So it's a risky move that, because if, like I say, if we get to the middle of March, he's got to have another 2 months of playing league football and doing what he's doing. Yeah, it's gonna look a bit dubious. And my worry for him is, and I don't think this is his fault, because when he came in, he was quite adamant he was a 3-4-3, and that was it. The club knew that. If he's going to be successful, then I get that he wants to embed the 3-4-3. He won't be successful with those players that he's got there. For him to be successful, playing any formation, but especially 3-4-3, most of them will have to go anyway. So I don't really know what he thinks he's learning by wedging that 3-4-3 on some of those players who, at the minute, it only seems to get the best out of our worst players. The players that he's wanting the team playing every week are the ones that we're struggling to find a role for. So yeah, I am a bit worried, but like I said, I think we do need to give him a full pre-season where that they can have that summer break to get his point across and hopefully get a few of those key positions sorted. But like I say, I don't know if we'll have the chance to do that because I don't think we'll be able to buy many players. So yeah, it's on a knife edge really, because I think it could go very wrong. We might end up like we were with Ten Hag, where it just the start of next season, it could become pretty obvious very quickly that it's just not going to work for one reason or the other.
How would you feel if Wednesday night he played a back four?
Well, this is it. If I think if he played about four, and it meant that we got Garnacho in the team and Fernandez playing higher up and etc. etc. Then I think we'll probably win. But then Park thinks, you know, if you're going to do that, you should have done that in December. I don't know. I don't know what the best thing for him to do is really, and I do feel for him because, like I say, he was always going to be a 3-4-3 guy. He said a billion times he's not going to change it, but he can't be successful playing 3-4-3 with that group of players. He hasn't got any wing. Well, we'll give Dorgu a pass because we've just bought him. Blah, blah, blah. He hasn't got a right wing back. He's got to play. Playing that formation means he's got to play three centre halves. He's barely got one good centre half. Never mind three. His keeper's shit. His strikers are shit. And the only good attacking players we've got don't fit in a 3-4-3. He's got Fernandez playing all over the shop. Garnacho's on the bench. Rashford's at Aston Villa. So it's it's a bit of a mess really, and
Going well
so,
then.
yeah. But apart from that, yeah, he's doing well.
Still
No, but like I
fine.
said, I don't think it's his fault because you hire someone like that,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So
I mean,
what were we
no,
expecting?
I agree. Whatever you think of is good, bad, whatever. I
Yeah,
definitely have seen things where there's definitely something about Ruben Amorim, and I think actually he's conducting himself interview-wise pretty well. I mean, maybe shouldn't come out and be quite so open sometimes
yeah. He needs
about
to
what
stop
he
having
thinks
so many
about the
interviews.
quality of
I
the
think.
team.
Yeah,
But I also think Clayton raised a very good point. I think he's like, I want to get standards here within this team, so I have to set that. Okay, fine.
mm.
That's the way he wants to go. But
But just on
ultimately,
that, sorry, just on that, if he's that bothered about standards, he can't be all about standards and then say we're not bothered about winning matches in the league and letting that slide. I'm not saying he's sending players out to lose, but if he was that bothered about standards, he wouldn't stand for losing the amount of matches we're losing at the minute. So
no, I
works
mean
both
probably in
ways.
terms of
That
the principle of how you play, I guess.
yeah, I know, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
Um, the problem is, you're right. It's like he got identified for a reason. What's the
Yeah,
reason? So you presumably you'd identify. This is where I come back to like Sugar, right?
mm,
Alan Sugar famously appointed Christian Gross because he had the
yeah,
best CV
mm,
when he was comparing him with managers who hadn't won things in major leagues, but this guy was a serial winner in Switzerland, with all due respect. He was like, well, he's got the best
yeah,
CV. I'll get this guy in. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what's happened here with Amorim. So there must have been something that was chosen. You went, I want Manchester United to play a back three. What was
mm,
it about this manager that made you go, yeah, want a game? So decide on him. They must have known what they were walking into. I hope. I'm kind of praying for you that they did know what they were
mm,
getting. So, but they would have known that the squad was ill-equipped to play that way, surely. Because it's not like we'd never seen Ten Hag, or even going back even further to Solskjaer, with a lot of these players who were still there then, revert to a back five in certain big games and stuff, and actually occasionally be successful in
yeah,
certain fixtures, particularly against, say, Man City, for example. So what were they thinking? Because my biggest concern for you from an Amrin perspective now, and I give you another Tottenham analogy, is when we had Conte, it's like you've got to get players in that are so specific for his skill set and
yeah,
system, right? So then it doesn't work, and you're left with these big earned players who can only suddenly play in a back three. And then you go, oh,
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
worked. So then you get
Yeah,
another manager that's in a back three. And actually, like culturally, Tottenham had to change a lot from Conte to
mm,
Postecoglou. And you would have to do the same from Amrim to someone else if you change. So I
yeah,
do think there's a crossroads point. You mentioned kind of early next season, because I don't
yeah.
think there's going to be significant money to spend in the summer. Do they go, we carry on with this, we're going to back it no matter what almost? Or do you go, we got this wrong again, spend more money needlessly that you didn't need to spend as a football club, which is going to
Yeah.
piss people off even more considering the Ten Hag payout and obviously what happened with Dan Ashworth?
Mm. But
There will
this
come
this is
there will come a point where you have to go, hang on, this ain't working. And I don't
no,
mean that's even necessarily this season, by the way. I don't think it
no,
is.
I don't think that's come this season. No, but that's what I'm worried about if we get to the autumn time, maybe. Because this is the other worry is that when Radcliffe came in and Brailsford and all this, and he talked all this rubbish about having the best in class, and they appointed Wilcox and Ashcroft and Berard and all these people. Supposedly, the point of that was that you get a culture and you get a way of buying players that mean that the manager change irrelevant to that. But then we went through all that. We then spent a load of money on players that Ten Hag wanted, sacked him. Now, like you say, we're going to have to buy a load of players that are very specific to what Amorim wants. And then, like you say, what might be left with? I do wonder if all these. I think over the last few years, well, there's been a bit of a school of thought that of how good the managers are in the league and how important it is to have a good manager with how well Guardiola did. But it's the players, isn't it? It doesn't the players are more important than the manager. I think we've seen that this season with United. But look at City this season. They lose a couple of key players. Rodri's gone, De Bruyne's legs have gone, and all of a sudden Guardiola looks a lesser coach. Postecoglou. You know, you wipe out his back four. What can he do? And it's all right saying we've got these great managers, but you've got 11 shit players every week. It doesn't matter what formations you play and how tactically astute you are. It's about the players, isn't it? And that's my worry with Amorim. is that he could be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he's got to play Maguire at centre half and Dallow at right back or Nana in goal. It's never going to work. It doesn't matter how good he is.
Yeah, but then
So,
a lot of us were looking at it on the outside, and I think we're saying the same things everywhere. And I know he's frustrating and a bit
mm,
divisive, but you already alluded to him, Garnacho. I think most of us are
yeah,
looking at it on the outside and going, you've got to find a place for him in this team. There is a bit of
he's
an erraticness about him, but he's young. He's something that I think the crowd can get behind in terms of his ball carrying,
mm,
raise the tempo, and things like that. And it can't fit in this system.
well, this is it. No, but he's got to play because the only time we look anywhere near threatening is when he plays now.
He basically, in the game at my place, he basically had every effort and goal you had.
Exactly, yeah. Now look, he doesn't score any of them. Some of them are 100 yards over the bar, but it's almost like so what? It's if he keeps doing that and we keep playing him, you know, he's 20 years old. Most 20-year-old wide players are like that, aren't they? You know, if you keep playing him, that's when you can turn him into a 25-year-old who's getting you 20 goals a season. Maybe now he might never turn into that, but you're not going to know if you only give him 10 minutes off the bench. And every time he does play, we look more threatening. Even on Saturday when he came on, he was the one carrying the fight a bit more. So yeah, it's odd that we can't find a find room for him in that team. And you know, but is Amorim just so obsessed with the way he plays? Because it's not just the 3-4-3; it's those two behind the striker seem to have to be more like number 10 creators. Is there no room for him for Garnacho to one of them and who can drift wide and I don't know, lopside your fullbacks. I don't know your wing backs. I don't know, but there must be a way around it because because at the minute I think it looks like we're going to try and sell Garnacho in the summer again, maybe just so we can buy try and find another 20-year-old right back from Lecce or Palermo or something. You think can't be right that no matter how
Well,
important the system
he
is.
and Minu, I guess,
Mm,
there's a chance they'll both go. If people are unaware, United are on the
mm,
borderline of PSR, and we know it's staying for another year. It's
yeah,
horrendous news for you because you
yeah,
can't. I
yeah.
think I think the solution for you in the past as a club, certainly from upstairs, has been, and you've spoken about this before on this podcast about they don't finish top four, so they throw loads of money at it. But
Mm,
this time you can't.
no,
And the only way you're playing Champions League football next year is if you win the Europa League. And I don't think the
yeah,
draw has been very kind to you there, mate.
no, no, no. I think even if we got past us, we'd had the idea that we'd win another few rounds seems unlikely. So yeah, I think. I mean, I suppose it depends how much money we can get for Rashford, maybe. Um, so that might help. But yeah, it looks like one of guys because I mean, there's probably not a room for Manu in this team either, the way that it's set up. Um, so yeah, yeah. But I mean, the idea that you sell Garnacho and Manu just to stay afloat and I don't
I
know.
was
Like we say,
talking,
hopefully we get some good money for Rashford. I don't know.
well, I sum it up, Paul, and bring you into the conversation on Delap a little bit, who such a unit for a young lad, really carries himself well. Was talking to Amber, one of our patrons, on the train, who's an Ipswich fan, on the way back, and we were saying, look, in all seriousness, he probably won't be playing for you next year. There's
Oh,
every chance he's going to be in the next England squad, whether he stay up or not. There's every chance I think he'll move on. You're thinking about where would he go, and you're thinking United, and then I'm taking a step back, Gary, and I'm going, United can't afford Liam Delap.
No, probably thought his dad still.
Is that all you are now? Long throw team, yeah?
Yeah, playing at right wing back will be fine.
He'd play centre midfield for you, mate. I would. How good is he though, Paul?
oh well, I think it probably will be in the England squad because Slanky's not back for a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Uh,
So
I'm
if,
hopeful couple of weeks, yeah, but I don't want him in the England squad anyway. Break, please.
but I think we're probably talking three from four, and it would be Kane, Solanke, Watkins, and Delap.
Well, we think Kane's probably injured as well, don't we? I think it
Do we
seems to be
think
the
he's out for
speculation.
that long?
Might be.
Okay, but yeah, I would have thought he's certainly in and around it. The only thing I do wonder for these games is there's an under 21s championship in the summer, and they might say, well, we want him to play in that, so we'll keep him in the under 21s so that they become a group and are ready for the summer.
Yeah, fair.
Um, but do I think he's do I think he's one of the three or four best centre forwards for England? Yeah, I suspect so. I can't think of anybody else bar those three who's ahead of him right now.
No, I think that's very fair, mate. And a couple of them sound like they're probably not going to be available. So I'd like to see them in the squad. Although what you say there about the under 21s makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, because I think they
Yeah,
will want him to play in that in the summer. So yeah, I would accept that rather than being angry about thinking he should be in it. Yeah, I would accept that on that basis, actually. He's on 8 yellow cards, Paul.
yeah, he's a bit naughty sometimes, isn't he?
We can be, yeah. When you look at Wolves at home game week 31, which feels ginormous, you're almost marking that now and got to win that one.
Mm.
If he was unavailable for that, mate, and you'd have to say there's a chance he is. I mean, can he go through 4 games without 2 yellow cards?
Well, he can. I really hope he does, because you're right. That becomes an infinitely harder game if he's not there. Um, yeah, I think he can, but let's see. Because if he gets one tomorrow, then we really are getting nervous. But it is what it is. I kind of hope he at least gets through that one, and then we've got Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, depending on the FA Cup, in a row, and he can miss two of those. That's fine.
If people were asking you about Delap in 29 specifically, are there better other forward options in that game week? You have Nottingham Forest at home.
Um, well, Wood might be a better option.
I thought you might say that. I'm going to check.
But if someone's free hitting or similar or playing their wild card in that week and wants to basically load up for that week, I think I've said pretty much, certainly the last two or three pods, he will keep churning over. He should have scored on Saturday, but he'll keep turning over. He'll score his goals. Like you say, there is that bit of a risk with his yellow cards if he gets a couple quite quickly that obviously he won't play in 29. But yeah, for that price, for what he is, I think he's a really solid pick.
I don't think he'll find his way into free hit teams because I think ultimately Cunha, Wood, Haaland
Yeah,
will, if
can,
they're all free fit, is going to be the free hit front three of choice near enough. And I think even if you were to look against that, I mean, you might be looking at people like Jimenez against Tottenham, for example, maybe rather than Delap. What would you say to someone who went, nah, actually, Paul, I want to go Milenkovic, Gibbs, White, Wood on free hit in game week 29 and attack Ipswich?
uh, well, yeah, I suppose you only have to look at how many points we've got. Attacking Ipswich isn't a bad plan, frankly. I don't want it to be, but they're a very good team, and yeah, we'd probably be one of the if you play that game and you basically go who are the four teams most likely to win that week. Forest are probably one of them, aren't they?
And I think the big, if there is a true, real disappointment with this season for you, Paul, 7 points from 14 home games.
Yeah, real
He's
problem.
unfortunately, there was always going to, I feel like every time we've kind of gone into a game, it's like, yeah, there's a game at home here, Ipswich need to win. I remember we had the Palace Bournemouth games back to back. And I said before that, you've got to be winning at least one of them and then to take zero from the two. Admittedly, both have done, Palace haven't lost away from home since, and Bournemouth have gone on to do really well. But any game like that at home, you'll be targeting the points. And unfortunately, like on the weekend, I think it was all right. I said to you already, I think it was a fairly even game. You lost 4-1.
Yeah, and I think this is a classic relegation team problem, but we're all right. But in both boxes, we're not quite lethal enough, and we're not quite protecting our goal quite as well as other teams. I think Saturday was a pretty good example of just how things have gone, in terms of, yes, we could have scored in those first few minutes, and, how we don't, I don't understand. But, we are Spurs spot a weakness because Godfrey was really struggling, and they are bang, bang. You see Archie Gray just whacking balls over his head or straight into Son because he knows that's where the problem is. Whereas a lot of teams normally go down our left-hand side because they want to get behind Davis. They were like, this kid is struggling.
Now, one bonus might be that Axel Tuanzebe, I presume, will be back in the team and at right back on Wednesday night, right?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he will be. Would he be if people do want to buy one of the two 3.9s because they need a real cheapy defender, him or Greaves at the moment, Paul?
Well, Twanzabi's got a bit of a bad habit of picking up injuries. So of those two, I'd go for Greaves personally. But
Has
if
he
you
got
can
up from the
find an
head
extra
collision
naught
yet on
point,
Saturday?
sorry.
Has he got up from the head collision on Saturday yet?
Yeah, Dane Scarlett seemed to be worse affected, didn't he? He was like shaking his head after the goal. Um, yeah, I'd go an extra point one though and go for Dar O'Shea, unless you
Okay.
really can't put it because he's our nailed on defender, I would say.
Right, so a little bit of risk even attached with Greaves, in your opinion.
Just a little
O'Shea
bit.
will always play. I'd
Yeah.
say that point might sound a bit outlandish, but there's every chance you will end up with a double at some stage. You're still in the FA Cup. Newcastle are still in the FA Cup, scheduled to play each other in game week 34. So there's a fair chance there's a double here knocking about somewhere that will maybe appeal to people trying to fit players in and thinking about a bench boost at some point, maybe.
Yeah, and I think, pretty much apart from Delap, the only players people are interested in from Ipswich are those real cheapies that they can have third on their bench, and then, like you say, when they play the bench boost, they're hoping that either they've got a double game week or they've got, a couple of points coming, basically.
Okay. Gary, which three Manchester United players are you having when you free hit in game week 29?
I won't have three.
But Leicester
Mind you, we're playing
away.
Leicester away, aren't we? Yeah, so. But I mean, you couldn't find. I mean, you have Fernandez, obviously. Um, Hope Garnacho's looks like he might get a game, but I don't think you're going to know week to week if he's starting or not. Um, three. I don't know. If, I'd honestly, I will. I could understand people putting Fernandez and Garnacho in. I honestly don't think. I don't know Euro maybe, but you wouldn't. Think you don't know who's going to play at the back. Maybe
No, but
Dorgu. Maybe have a
he
go
was
at
he was
Dorgu
the
and
one I was
see
going
if
to
he.
say. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
suggesting people buy a Manchester United defender, but I think
No,
free
no.
hit 29, there might
Yeah,
be people who want to have a look, and I suppose one
yeah,
of the wing backs against Leicester would maybe appeal. You'll have
yeah.
the knowledge
Definitely.
of playing Sociedad 3 days earlier and what impact that may well have onto
Yeah,
the team. It helps that you're a Sunday night kickoff in game week 29. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. That's a little bit helpful. And the second leg's at Old Trafford as well, isn't it? Of the Europa
yeah,
game. So you'll have some information from that. I would imagine, yeah, Dorgu, I think, would particularly get a little bit of interest for
yeah,
29 specifically.
yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I could, yeah, I could stomach Dorgu. I think. I don't think I could stomach any of the rest of them defensively.
Okay. What about in terms of buying Bruno Fernandes at this moment? It's Ipswich and Leicester, two of the next three.
Mm, I mean, I've got Fernandez, but I've had him for however long I've had him. I just don't know. Just don't know if you could go and buy
You
him
had that
now.
look on your
Put him.
face like Ben Affleck then. You know the Ben Affleck gif.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um,
Why have I, it's like you're searching your soul. Why do I own Bruno
I
Fernandes?
know. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Um,
I could say that about 15 of my guys, I reckon.
yeah. No, I mean, you could go and buy Fernandez because, like you say, there are some decent looking fixtures coming up, but you you could very easily buy him and he ends up playing net holding Casemiro's hand or Ugarte's hand, and we continue not to score goals, and then you'll think, why have I spent whatever it is, 8 million quid on him
Yeah.
when we're all, when you've got doublers and all that kind of stuff to worry about soon. And if you buy him now and then we don't, the way the doubles fall or whatever, and you end up thinking, I need to go and get, whoever we need to go and get double wise, it might end up being a waste of a transfer.
Well, I mean that could
He could
that could
easily
be
go
you,
10
right?
10 10.
There's every
No, I
chance
know
you'll double in 33.
yeah, but then you're going to get to 30 and think, well, I can't sell him again. And, you end up, you know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the worst player to stick with because I've ended up having to stick with him for plotting away those doubles that we've just had and things like that, and then you end up getting a 10 pointer against Everton, and he does tick over, but I just think we're getting to the point in the season now where we're kind of looking at people who are going to start doubling, and I know Fernandez might, but don't know. He's just probably a little bit more
You're
expensive.
as likely as anyone to cover 29 and double
Yeah,
33. What doesn't help is the period in
yeah,
between is Forest away, City at home, Newcastle away. So it doesn't
exactly. Yeah,
scream
and
great fixtures.
no,
Um,
the only flip of that is that there might be the games where we don't ask him to sit next to a Casemiro in midfield, and he puts Ugarte in a Casemiro in, and and because it tends to be the easier games on paper, except for 13 and 15, but where he says he can play Fernandez a bit deeper, so maybe those bigger games it might let him go and play at 10 and things like that. So it might work the other way for him. He scored at Arsenal this season already and things like that. So, it was in the cup, that wasn't it? But yeah, he's a funny one, Fernando. I think if you buy him, it could work, but just be wary that he might end up playing in holding midfield for a month.
yeah, and that wouldn't make me want to. I think in 29
Yeah.
itself, if I was free hitting, I'd throw him in.
Oh,
because of
definitely. Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
opponent on the day. And also,
Yeah.
I think unlike say we're talking about with Delap, it's like yeah, Cunha, Wood, Jimenez,
Yeah.
Haaland. There's quite a few alternatives. The midfield feels like a bit of a graveyard for 29 specifically. And actually, I
Yeah.
think if Garnacho didn't start the second leg against Sociedad, I think there might even be a little bit of a surge for him actually for that week specifically. Thinking, well, I'll go to two of them. And I've only got to worry about it for Leicester away, and they're not there next week.
Yeah.
Garnacho's
Definitely.
not the sort of player you can buy. So if an opportunity there knocks for free hitters, I think you chase that if
Mm,
you can. I think.
yeah, I wouldn't disagree on those two.
Where do you think you finished, Gary?
Um, 14. We're probably about where we are now. I suppose the cup games will have if the longer we stay in the cup, the more likely we have to stay 15-ish, I guess. I guess there's a chance that we got the cups earlier and then focus a bit more on the league and the form picks up and etc. etc. But there's a lot of teams around there that are playing well, and we're probably the team in the worst form around there. In that, forget the bottom four, around the rest of it, the
You
likes
are.
of Palace, Everton, etc., they've all seemed to pick up and looking at can they finish top 10 probably, whereas we'll be thinking just end the season now.
Thank you for not mentioning my team, Gary. Paul, where do you
Well,
think
yeah.
you
Well, you're going
finish?
to win the Europa League, aren't you? So,
I'll see you in Bilbao, yeah? Are you going to stay up, Paul?
Well, yeah, it's a long shot now. 5 points is a lot of points when you're not picking up many. But we keep the faith. I think what we have got, is we've got a really good coach. We are together. We are getting, if not the most out of what we've got, pretty much. But it does seem a long shot now. Wolves seem to have basically sorted themselves out, don't they?
And their fixtures. I think Wolves have got the best fixtures of every club between now and the end of the season, I think.
I think they've certainly got a nice spell, and then we've got a nice run in as long as teams who we think are going to be on the beach are on the beach. But so we need to be in touch with 4 games to go. If we're close enough to them that we can threaten them, then you never know. But we've got to pick up some points to keep track with them at the moment.
I hope you do it, Paul, because I thoroughly enjoyed that trip Saturday. And I know the result kind of helps things, but I think that's a cracking away day, mate. And I hope I get to do it again soon, pal. Let's do predictions before we finish. Go on in, Gary.
oh God. I was tempted to say 0-0, but we're not both keeping clean sheet, are we? I think we are dreadful at home at the minute. I'll say 1-1.
Fucking hell, Gary. Paul,
Desmond.
Tay. I do think you'll win this one, Gary. I think, unfortunately, Paul, I'm worried about the midfield there, mate.
Yeah,
What
so
you're
am I a
saying
little
and
bit,
what I
but
saw at the weekend as well. Essentially, you're changing both your two central midfielders from the weekend. That makes me a bit nervous, and I think they will create chances. That's the big disparity. Actually, I think at the top end, I think you've got some threatening, some lively players. Hutchinson is a good player. I like him, seen him twice now, on top of obviously Delap I spoke about a lot. It's defensively as a unit, cohesively, it's not strong enough, I don't think, mate. So I think you'll win, Gary, narrowly. 2-1, 2-0, something like that, I think. Thank you, gents. Gary, anything you want to plug before we finish?
No, not for me, thanks.
For you, Paul?
Oh yeah, can I just plug one little thing?
You can, mate.
Um,
You can plug a big thing if you want, mate.
Me and my mate Chris, shout out Chris, do on Instagram. We do like an Ipswich like nostalgia account
Oh,
where
cool.
we talk about like old players, good, bad, and the ugly. And we try to theme it with the opposition. So over the weekend we had a Sir Ralph Ramsey through his playing career because he played for Spurs, as you probably know, James. So if anybody's
As
got
if
this
my dad ain't
far,
told me 50 times.
but yeah, if anybody's got this far and that's because they love Ipswich, maybe they want to have a little look at that.
Super.
ITFC nostalgia.
Say that again for us, Paul. What's the account?
ITFC nostalgia.
Good stuff. Thank you, mate. Good luck with that. Next week's Clash of Correspondents. I don't know what day yet, but I can tell you it's Wolves versus Everton with Bradley Parker and Sean Norton. Deadline stream still to come for those on YouTube, 5 p.m. UK time today. Remember, it's a 6 p.m. UK time, game week 27 deadline. And Clayton will be out with me for the Clayton and James show tomorrow. It just leaves me to say thanks so much to Gary and Paul. Good luck, gentlemen. Cue music, please, man child.